Hello, my name is Neil, and I am back with a new episode of Around the World in 7 Days, a program which focuses on enhancing your understanding of geopolitics and international affairs. In today's episode, we will discuss the changing dynamics of India Russia relations in the context of Russia Ukraine war and Russia China relations. So, let's get straight to the point. Ever since the beginning of Russia Ukraine war, there has been a murmur of factionalism in international politics. This factionalism is being seen mainly in form of two camps. One is led by the US, other is led by Russia. As far as India is concerned, it has been neutral from the very beginning of the war and has avoided taking any side. In fact, in one of his meetings with the Russian President Putin, PM Modi even rendered him a very sane advice, that is, this is not an era of war. And probably this is the best advice that a genuine friend can offer in a situation like this. But from a recent statement from India's friend Russia, it seems that Russia, intends to form a bloc in which it wants both India and China to be a member. In fact, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said that the foreign ministers of India, Russia, and China will meet this year. Lavrov also spoke about forming a triad of these countries. Apart from this, he also said that Russia favors friendship between India and China and is willing to do whatever possible to make it happen. This means Russia wants to form such a group in which India, which has been neutral till now, leaves this policy of neutrality, becomes Russia's supporter, and leaves Russia's arch rival, America. Considering the prevailing circumstances, this can be considered an ambitious goal for Russia. But why did Mr. Sergei Lavrov say so? After all, he is not a naive person. He is someone who is well versed with the intricacies of international politics. He has been the foreign minister of Russia for around 2 decades, or to be precise, since 2004. So let us try to dig a little deeper into what this statement actually means. Actually, this statement of Mr. Lavrov shows that Russia and China have come very close. Although China has also remained neutral during this Russia-Ukraine crisis, but if news reports are to be believed, China is going to provide weapons to Russia for the Ukraine war. At the ideological level also, Russia and China are very close to each other. Ideological closeness cannot be underestimated given the fact that ideology has a big role to play in this war, especially in terms of choosing sides. Russia, from the very beginning, has termed its war as a war against neo-Nazis, while the West, led by the US, has called it a war for protecting democracy from dictatorship. In fact, a few weeks back, Mr. Biden, on his visit to Kyiv, even said that Ukraine stands, democracy stands. We analyzed this visit in detail in our episode on 1st of March. For more, you can watch that episode from our playlist. Coming back to Mr. Sergei Lavrov's statement, let's see it from India's perspective. There is no doubt that India is also an old partner of Russia. India and the erstwhile Soviet Union have had diplomatic relations since the Cold War years. In such a situation, two important questions arise. First, if there is an alliance between Russia and China without India, then what does it mean for India? What challenges will arise in front of India because of this? The second question is that if tensions between India and China escalate at any given point of time, then whom will Russia support? Let's try to find answer to these questions. If we do a subtle analysis of the issue, then it becomes crystal clear that instead of giving the final blow to American supremacy in the international system, Russia and China have only worked to increase Western unity under the American leadership. The Russian attack on Ukraine has given the US an opportunity to simultaneously exert pressure on both China and Russia. The Russian offensive provided an opportunity to the US to reunite and expand the NATO. And all this is not limited only to Europe. The Russian offensive has also fueled fears of Chinese territorial expansionism in Asia. China's tough stand on Taiwan, its enmity with ASEAN countries in the South China Sea, and its dissension with Quad countries in the Indo-Pacific are all indicative of China's expansionist approach. Russia and China feel that they can dominate Eurasia through alliance. Interestingly, the US feels the same way and is trying to strengthen its alliances and partnerships in Europe and Asia. Biden is continuously visiting NATO countries in Europe. In Asia, he is trying to help Taiwan. Also, India and Japan are emerging as strong allies of America in the Indo-Pacific. On the other hand, Putin's military adventurism in Ukraine is likely to make Moscow more lenient with Beijing. Although Russia's strategic performance in Ukraine has not been very good, it is unlikely that China will ditch Russia. It is believed that despite being weak, Putin will continue to be an asset and a valuable ally for Xi Jinping. However, recent setbacks for Russia may make Moscow a junior partner of Beijing, which will be a big geopolitical shift. A major reason for strengthening of this alliance is that after Russia, now the Western world has come out in open against China as well. It will inevitably lead to formation of a very strong alliance between the two countries, that is Russia and China. Now the question is, what does this all mean for India? Actually, the Russia-China alliance has put India in a dire situation. China's friendship with Russia has become so strong that China can dare to increase military pressure on the disputed borders with India without any fear. For India, the challenge lies in the fact that it is heavily dependent on Russian military supplies to meet the challenge of Chinese aggression. Therefore, Russia turning into a junior partner of China is certainly a problem for India. It is believed that the dependence on Russian weapons has prevented India from speaking openly or doing anything on Ukraine issue. This has certainly created a fault line in India's relationship with the Europe and America. If the Russian partnership was long seen as the key to India's strategic autonomy, India's dependence on Russia for arms is in many ways the single biggest obstacle to its foreign policy independence in present. Nearly 3 decades ago, India turned to Russia and China to promote a multipolar world against a unipolar world dominated by the US. But increasingly assertive China compelled India to tilt toward the US and its allies to restore regional balance of power. However, the new Sino-Russian alliance and the Russian offensive on Ukraine have further complicated the situation. Now we come back to our second question, that if India and China clash with each other, then whom will Russia support? As we mentioned earlier, India and Russia have had relations since the Cold War years. That is, since the time of first Prime Minister Pandit Nehru, there has been an emotional connect between India and Russia. In such a situation, Russia would never want such old relations with India to deteriorate. It will never want to end its goodwill by supporting China. Economically too, India is very important for Russia. At present, India purchases 70% of its weapons from Russia. Therefore, it is believed that no matter how powerful China becomes, Russia will neither openly support China nor go against India. Also, a very interesting subtext to this whole equation is that if Russia supports China, then China can emerge stronger and Russia will never want China to overtake Russia and become a superpower in this region. Having said that, how much difficulties the new China-Russia friendship will create for India and how India will counter it is something that cannot be said with certainty. So that was all for today's episode. Let's note down today's question. The question is, what do you think should be India's approach in tackling Russia's closeness with China? Please let us know your feedback in the comments. We are genuinely interested in knowing your views. See you in next episode. Till then, goodbye.